Ambassador William Carter adjusted his uniform one last time as the shuttle docked with the massive Galactic Council station. Next to him, military liaison Susan Mitchell checked the tablet with Earth's defense statistics, her face serious. "Ready for this?" Carter asked. Mitchell nodded. "As ready as we'll ever be." The door opened with a soft hiss. Two tall, blue-skinned aliens waited for them. They had 4 arms and large eyes that blinked sideways. "Welcome to Central Station, Earth representatives," said the taller one. "I am Greeter Zixon. The Council awaits you." Carter and Mitchell followed the aliens through huge hallways filled with species from across the galaxy. Some floated in bubbles of special gas. Others moved on many legs or slithered along the floor. Earth had only discovered faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. They were the newest species to meet the Galactic Council. The main chamber was enormous. Hundreds of seats rose in circles around a central speaking area. Many seats were filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some looked almost like humans. Others seemed more like plants or clouds of gas. "The representatives from planet Earth," announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere. Carter stepped forward. "Thank you for accepting our request to join the Galactic Council. Earth is honored to be considered for membership." A tall, thin alien with gray skin and a long neck stood up. "I am Supreme Counselor Vex of the Zolnari. Before we consider your application, we must assess your species' capabilities and threats." Mitchell stepped forward. "Of course. We've prepared a full report on Earth's military and defensive capabilities." A large reptilian alien with red scales and black armor laughed. His voice was deep and rough. "Let us see what these soft-skinned mammals call a military." "Grand Admiral Exir of the Vecturians," whispered one of their guides. "Their empire controls 37 systems." Mitchell activated her tablet. A hologram appeared showing Earth's fleet of spaceships. Currently, Earth has 27 interstellar vessels. 6 are dedicated warships, the rest are research, diplomatic, or transport ships with defensive capabilities. Admiral Exir laughed again, louder this time. Other aliens joined him. 6 warships? My personal guard has more ships than your entire species." Mitchell kept her face calm. "Our ground forces include 15 million active soldiers across all nations, with specialized units for different environments." A small, furry alien with 6 eyes spoke up. "But how many planets do you control?" "Just Earth and our solar system colonies," Carter answered. "We have settlements on Mars, Venus, and several moons of Jupiter and Saturn." This caused more laughter from around the room. "So you are not even a multi-star species?" asked another alien. "Yet you request council membership?" Carter tried to stay diplomatic. "We understand we are new to galactic society. We hope to learn from the council while contributing our unique perspectives." "And what unique perspectives could such a limited species offer?" asked Counselor Vex. Mitchell advanced her presentation. "One of our advantages is adaptability. Earth is classified as a Class 12 Deathworld." This caused some murmuring. A female alien with feathered skin leaned forward. "A Class 12? That's unusually harsh. What are the primary threats?" "Extreme weather variations, tectonic instability, diverse predator species, and wide-ranging pathogens," Mitchell explained. "Humans evolved to survive through intelligence, tool use, and cooperative relationships." "Cooperative relationships?" asked Counselor Vex. Mitchell nodded and changed the hologram. It showed humans working with various animals, horses pulling plows, birds carrying messages, and then military personnel with dogs. "One of our most successful evolutionary strategies was domesticating other species. For military applications, we work closely with canines, what we call dogs. They have been our partners for over 30,000 years." The image showed soldiers with German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, and other working breeds. Some dogs wore tactical vests and equipment. The chamber went completely silent for 3 seconds. Then Admiral Exir burst into loud laughter that echoed through the chamber. Soon most of the council joined him. "You bring animals to war?" he roared, between laughs. "You rely on lesser beasts?" Carter felt his face grow hot with embarrassment. Mitchell stood straight, her jaw tight. "Our canine units are highly effective," she said firmly. They have enhanced senses that even our technology can't match. They can detect explosives, find survivors in disasters, track targets across difficult terrain, and provide protection. Next, you'll tell us you ride into battle on them, said another alien, causing more laughter. Admiral Xir stood up to his full height, nearly 9 feet tall. His scales glistened under the lights. I have seen enough. These humans are barely space-capable. Primates who bring pets to war. They have no place in the Council. I vote to deny their application and restrict their expansion until they develop proper civilization. Several other representatives nodded in agreement. Carter tried to speak, but Councillor Vex raised a hand. We will consider Earth's application, but Admiral Xir raises valid concerns. A species that relies on animal helpers rather than developing proper technology shows questionable judgment. Dogs aren't just helpers, Mitchell said firmly. They're partners. The bond between humans and dogs is special. They can read our emotions. We can communicate without words. They'll give their lives to protect us, and we do the same for them. This caused some confusion among the aliens. The concept seemed strange to them. You share emotional bonds with these dogs? Asked a small, glowing alien near the front. Yes, Carter said. On Earth, many species have evolved together. We don't just use technology, we form relationships. It's how we survived our Deathworld. Admiral Xir made a dismissive gesture. Primitive sentimentality. A proper species relies on itself and its technology, not lesser creatures. This session is concluded, announced Councillor Vex. We will deliberate on Earth's application. You will be informed of our decision. Carter and Mitchell were escorted from the chamber. In the hallway, Mitchell's hands were shaking with anger. They don't understand, she said quietly. No, they don't, Carter agreed. They've never had to survive on a world like ours. They evolved without companion species. Mitchell looked at her tablet, now showing a picture of her own dog back on Earth, a brown Labrador named Rex. Their loss. They've never known what it's like to have that kind of loyalty. Carter nodded. Let's hope they never have to find out the hard way what Earth dogs can do when their humans are threatened. As they walked back to their shuttle, neither noticed the small recording drone following them, or the fact that Admiral Xir was already sending a message to the Vecturian fleet about the interesting new planet with exploitable resources and laughably weak defenses. The humans and their dogs would soon have a chance to show the galaxy exactly what they could do. 3 months passed after the meeting with the Galactic Council. Earth waited for a decision about their membership application, but no answer came. Instead, something much worse arrived. Captain Olivia Ramirez stood at the observation window of Europa colony, looking out at the icy surface of Jupiter's moon. The mining operation had been running for 6 years now, with 200 people working to extract rare minerals from beneath the frozen surface. Captain, you need to see this, called Communications Officer Peter Kelly. His voice was tense. Ramirez hurried to the command center. On the main screen, 5 large ships approached Europa. They weren't human ships. They're not responding to hails, Kelly said, and they're not broadcasting any identification. Ramirez recognized the design from the briefings after Carter and Mitchell returned from the council meeting. Vecturian warships, she said quietly. She pressed the colony-wide alert button. All personnel, this is Captain Ramirez. We have 5 unknown vessels approaching. All civilians move to the emergency shelters. All security personnel report to defense stations. This is not a drill. She turned to Kelly. Send an emergency message to Earth Command. Tell them we have Vecturian ships moving into attack position. In No, another part of the colony, Sergeant Alan Rodriguez heard the alert as he finished feeding the colony's K9 unit. The 12 dogs, a mix of German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, and Dutch Shepherds, immediately stood at attention, sensing his sudden focus. Look sharp, team, Rodriguez said to his handlers. Sounds like we might have company. The 6 handlers quickly moved to prepare their partners. Each dog wore a specially designed suit that protected them in Europa's low-pressure environment and kept them warm in the extreme cold. The suits were lightweight and flexible, allowing the dogs full movement. "Gear up," Rodriguez ordered. "Max, Echo, Charlie, take the north tunnels. Ranger, Shadow, Zoe, cover the main corridor. Duke, Luna, Bella, secure the civilian shelters. Rex, Nova, scout with me at the main airlock." The dogs and their handlers moved quickly to their positions. The suits included communication devices that allowed the handlers to give commands even in vacuum or through walls. At the command center, Ramirez watched as the Vecturian ships surrounded the colony. "They're jamming our long-range communications," Kelly reported. The emergency message didn't get through. The main screen flickered and a reptilian face appeared. Admiral Exir looked even more intimidating than in the council meeting. "Attention, human settlement," he said, his voice deep and cold. "This moon and its resources now belong to the Vecturian Empire. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Ramirez stood tall. "This is Captain Olivia Ramirez of the Earth Alliance. Europa Colony is a peaceful mining operation in Earth's home system. Your actions violate galactic law." Exir laughed. "Galactic law? You are not council members. You have no protection." His eyes narrowed. "You have 10 minutes to surrender before we board your facility." The screen went dark. Ramirez turned to her security chief. "How many combat-ready personnel do we have?" 23, plus Rodriguez's. "K9 unit," he replied. "Against how many Vecturians?" "Sensors suggest about 200 warriors." Ramirez took a deep breath. "We can't surrender the colony. We have to hold out until help arrives." She activated her comm. "Rodriguez, are your teams in position?" "Yes, Captain," came Rodriguez's voice. "The dogs are ready." "Good. We're about to have visitors. Let them in the main airlock, then give them a proper Earth welcome." 9 minutes later, alarms blared as the main airlock was forced open from the outside. 30 Vecturian soldiers in heavy armor pushed into the colony. They stood 7 to 9 feet tall with tough scales, powerful muscles, and advanced weapons. They moved with military precision, securing the entry hall. "Pathetic defenses," said their commander. "Spread out. Secure the command center and the power core." What the Vecturians didn't know was that Rodriguez and his team had pulled back, watching from hidden positions. As the aliens spread out into smaller groups, Rodriguez gave the signal. "Now," he whispered into his comm. Throughout the colony, handlers gave their dogs the command to attack. The dogs moved silently and quickly, using the colony's air ducts and maintenance tunnels, spaces too small for the large Vecturians to follow. In the north section, a group of 5 Vecturians moved down a corridor when the lights suddenly went out. They activated their helmet lights, scanning the darkness. "What is that sound?" one soldier asked, hearing a soft clicking on the metal floor. Before they could react, 3 shapes burst from a side passage. Max, Echo, and Charlie moved like shadows, faster than the Vecturians could track. The dogs had been trained to target weak points in armor, joints, sensor equipment, and weapon connections. Charlie leaped, clamping powerful jaws on a soldier's weapon arm, crushing the control circuits. Echo darted between another's legs, pulling a connection cable that caused the alien's armor to lock up. Max jumped directly at a soldier's helmet, cracking the faceplate with specially designed jaw implants. The confused Vecturians fired wildly, but the dogs were already gone, disappearing into the darkness only to attack again from another direction. Similar scenes played out across the colony. The Vecturian sensors couldn't properly track the dogs. Their heat signatures were different from humans, and their suits included basic stealth technology. In the command center, Ramirez watched through security cameras as chaos spread among the invaders. "What are those things?" a Vecturian commander shouted over their communication channel, which Kelly had managed to access. "Unknown small predators," another replied. "They move too fast for targeting." 3 more soldiers down in Section 5. Admiral Exir's voice boomed through the channel. "They're just animals. Kill them." But the Vecturians weren't prepared for Earth's dogs. On their homeworld, they had evolved as apex predators with no natural enemies. They had no instinctive response to pack hunters that targeted weak points and retreated rather than fighting head-on. Rodriguez moved with Rex, Nova, and Scout coordinating the defense. When a group of Vecturians became separated, the dogs would attack, disable their equipment, then disappear before reinforcements arrived. Human security personnel used the confusion to set up ambushes, targeting Vecturians whose armor had been damaged by the dogs. After 2 hours of fighting, the Vecturians had lost over half their landing force. Their formation had broken down completely as they tried to defend against enemies they couldn't predict or properly track. "Retreat," Admiral Exir finally ordered. "Return to the ships." As the surviving Vecturians pulled back to their vessels, Rodriguez gathered his K9 unit. All 12 dogs had survived, though 3 had minor injuries. They had helped save the colony against impossible odds. Captain Ramirez looked at the retreating Vecturian ships on the monitor. "Send a message to Earth as soon as communications are back online," she told Kelly. "Tell them what happened here, and tell them the Vecturians just learned their first lesson about humanity's best friends." In his ship, Admiral Exir stared at the small moon with rage and disbelief. How had his elite forces been defeated by a handful of humans and their animals? He needed to report this to the High Command, and they needed a new strategy against these humans and their unexpected weapons. The Battle of Europa was over. The war had just begun. News of the Europa colony victory spread quickly across Earth and its colonies. Videos from the colony's security cameras showed the dogs in action, moving with incredible speed and precision against the much larger alien invaders. People everywhere celebrated their unexpected heroes. General Evelyn Foster stood in the main conference room at United Defense Command headquarters in Geneva. The walls displayed images of the battle, along with data on the Vecturian forces. "The attack on Europa changes everything," she told the room full of military commanders. "We're no longer seeking peaceful membership in the Galactic Council. We're fighting for our survival." She moved to a large holographic display showing a map of Earth's solar system. "Intelligence suggests the Vecturians will return with a larger force. We need to be ready." Foster pointed to a document on everyone's screens. "I'm initiating Operation Pawprint. We will expand our military working dog units across all service branches immediately." Commander Frank Ellis raised his hand. "The dogs at Europa were impressive, but the Vecturians will adapt their tactics. They won't be surprised next time." Foster nodded. "That's why we're changing too. Dr. Nancy Rivera, please explain." A woman in a white lab coat stood up. "My team has been developing new equipment for our K9 units. The Europa dogs had basic protective gear. Our new suits offer much more." She displayed images of dogs wearing sleek, form-fitting armor. These new suits include active camouflage, enhanced sensor blocking, and reinforced protection. They also have built-in medical systems that can treat injuries in the field. "How quickly can we scale up production?" asked General Foster. "We can outfit 5,000 dogs within 3 months," Rivera replied. 10,000 within 6 months. Foster turned to the military trainers. "I want every suitable dog in service trained for combat operations. Expand breeding programs for working dogs. This is now our highest priority." While Earth prepared its defenses, Ambassador Carter worked on the diplomatic front. He stood in the Galactic Council chamber again, but this time he wasn't asking for membership. He was demanding justice. The unprovoked attack on Europa colony violated multiple sections of the Galactic Charter, Carter said firmly. "Even non-member species have rights under Section 12. Admiral Exir stood from his seat, scales flaring with anger. "The humans use biological weapons. Their attack beasts violated proper warfare protocols." Councillor Vex raised a hand for silence. "Ambassador Carter, many council members are concerned about your use of animals in combat. Most species consider this primitive and potentially cruel." Carter displayed videos of handlers working with their dogs. "These are not slaves or mindless weapons. These are partners who choose to work with us." The chamber buzzed with conversation as the aliens watched humans and dogs training together, playing together, living together as family. "Our relationship with dogs goes back tens of thousands of years," Carter explained. "We evolved together. They understand us in ways no other species can. What looks strange to you is natural to us. A new alien stepped forward. She was tall, with soft blue-purple skin that seemed to shimmer. I am Consul Thala of the Altharians. We have some empathic abilities and may better understand this bond you describe. Would you permit a demonstration? Carter nodded. Earth would welcome that. 2 weeks later, Master Sergeant Daniel Jackson arrived at the Council Station with Luna, his border collie mix. Luna had warm brown eyes, black and white fur, and had served with Jackson for 6 years, including 3 combat deployments. The demonstration took place in a large open room. Hundreds of representatives from different species watched from observation, areas above. Luna has been trained in multiple disciplines, Jackson explained as Luna sat calmly beside him. She can detect explosives, track specific targets, provide protection, and assist in rescue operations. Consul Thala set up a series of tests. In one, 20 containers were arranged around the room. We have placed a small amount of explosive material in one container, she said. Can your dog find it? Jackson nodded to Luna. Search, he said quietly. Luna moved methodically through the room, sniffing each container. When she reached the 15th one, she sat down and looked back at Jackson without barking or touching the container. That one, Jackson said. Thala, checked a scanner. Correct. Your scanning technology didn't detect it, but the dog did. In another test, Luna navigated a complex obstacle course using only Jackson's hand signals. In a third, she subdued a council security officer wearing protective gear, targeting his arm in a way that disabled him without causing injury. Most impressive to the council was a test where Jackson was hidden in one of 50 identical rooms. With no scent trail to follow, Luna still found him within minutes. How did she know where to go? Asked Counselor Vex. Jackson smiled. We don't fully understand it ourselves. Dogs seem to have a sense about their people. They know things we can't explain. Consul Thala placed her hand near Luna, not quite touching. Altharians could sense emotions from other beings. There is a connection here, she said softly. Not like our empathic abilities, but something equally real. A bond of trust and love. The demonstration changed the minds of many council species. The Altharians and several others began to support Earth's position against the Vecturians. The Vecturians, however, were not impressed. They had already begun planning a larger, more systematic assault on humanity's colonies. Back on Earth, Operation Pawprint was in full swing. At a training facility in Colorado, Sergeant Rodriguez, now promoted after the Europa battle, worked with a new group of handlers and dogs. The Vecturians think they know what to expect now, he told his trainees as they watched their dogs run through practice scenarios. They're wrong. In a laboratory nearby, Dr. Rivera fine-tuned the new combat suits. We've added sensory enhancements, she told a group of officers. These allow the dogs to see in wavelengths beyond human vision. They can detect heat signatures, electromagnetic fields, and even certain chemical traces. General Foster observed the training exercises from an observation room. On screens around her, similar training took place at facilities around the world. Thousands of dogs and their handlers preparing for a war nobody had expected. They laughed at us for bringing dogs to fight, she said quietly. They won't be laughing much longer. In orbit above Earth, newly constructed defense platforms were being installed. On Mars, military bases expanded their dog training facilities. Throughout the solar system, humans prepared for the coming storm, and by their sides, always, were the dogs of Earth, loyal, brave, and ready to defend their human companions against any threat, no matter how alien. 6 months after the Europa incident, alarms blared across New Horizon Colony. The largest human settlement outside Earth's solar system had 15,000 residents and was built on a planet with Earth-like conditions. Now it faced immediate danger. Vecturian warships detected, announced the automated defense system. Estimated arrival 15 minutes. Colonel Gregory Martinez ran through the crowded command center. Status reports flowed in from all sectors of the colony. How many ships, he asked. 23, replied his second-in-command. Much bigger than the Europa attack force. Martinez nodded grimly. They're not taking chances this time. He turned to his communications officer. Send the emergency signal to Earth, then get me Lieutenant Powell. Lieutenant Samantha Powell was already moving when the call came through. She led New Horizons K-9 Special Forces unit with 24 dogs and handlers under her command. Colonel, we're ready, she said, standing in the K-9 unit's prep room, where handlers were equipping their partners with the new combat suits. They know about the dogs this time, Martinez said through the comm. They'll be prepared. Powell looked at her team. Her own dog, Max, a German shepherd with intelligent eyes, already wore his advanced combat suit. The sleek, dark material covered his body, while still allowing full movement. Tiny lights on the control panel showed all systems active. Let them try, Powell said. We have some surprises for them, too. The Vecaturian ships entered orbit and immediately began landing operations. Dropships descended toward the colony, carrying thousands of soldiers. This time, they brought special equipment designed to detect and target Earth's canines. General Kraszak, a veteran commander with scaled skin bearing many battle scars, led the invasion. He stood in the command ship watching the operation unfold. Remember, he told his officers, their animal weapons are fast but not intelligent. Our new sensors will track them, and our special weapons will eliminate them. The first wave of Vecturian troops landed outside the colony's main defensive perimeter. They moved with caution, scanning constantly for signs of the Earth animals. Inside the colony, Martinez enacted his defense plan. Start the evacuation of all non-essential personnel to the emergency bunkers, he ordered. Then he turned to his military forces. Conventional troops pull back to the central zones. K-9 units deploy as planned. Powell split her dog teams into 5 packs. Alpha team with me to the maintenance tunnels. Beta team, take the air circulation system. Gamma team, position in the power distribution network. Delta and Echo teams, hold as reserve force. The dogs, wearing their new generation combat suits, moved through the colony. The suits now included active camouflage technology that adapted to their surroundings, making them nearly invisible when still and difficult to track when moving. As Tabais Jurs, the Vecturian forces breached the outer walls, they moved in tight formation. Weapons ready. Their new sensor equipment swept the area, specifically calibrated to detect Earth canines. Strange, said a Vecturian squad leader, checking his scanner. No sign of the animals. What they didn't know was that Dr. Rivera's new suits masked the dog's biological signatures. The Vecaturian sensors showed nothing even as Max and his pack moved silently through maintenance tunnels directly beneath them. Powell watched through Max's helmet camera. She gave hand signals that were transmitted to displays inside the dog's visors. Unlike verbal commands, these couldn't be intercepted by Vecaturian communications equipment. Max led his pack into position. 5 dogs, Max, Titan, Sadie, Rocco, and Chloe, waited silently as the heavy footsteps of Vecturian troops passed overhead. Powell gave the signal. The dogs activated their suits' disruptor modules, sending electromagnetic pulses through the floor panels. Above them, the Vecturian sensors and communication devices suddenly failed. Move, Powell signaled. The dogs burst from hidden access panels. Their suits now showed their positions to each other through their visors, allowing coordinated attacks even in complete darkness. They targeted weak points in the Vecturian armor, joints, cooling systems, and sensor arrays. Across the colony, similar scenes played out. The Vecturians found their careful plans falling apart as their technology failed at critical moments. When they tried to regroup, they found routes blocked or false signals leading them into ambushes. In the colony's power core, Beta Team disabled a Vecturian demolition squad moments before they could plant explosives. In the communications center, Gamma Team helped human defenders repel 3 assault waves. General Kraszak grew increasingly frustrated as reports of failures poured in. "How are these animals defeating our countermeasures?" he demanded. His technology officer checked the data streams. "Sir, these aren't the same animals from Europa. Their equipment is far more advanced. They're somehow masking their signatures and coordinating their attacks." Kraszak slammed his fist on the console. Send in the heavy assault units with the anti-canine weapons. A new wave of Vecturian troops entered the colony, wearing bulkier armor and carrying specialized weapons that fired wide dispersal stun nets designed to capture dogs. Colonel Martinez watched the situation from the command center. "They're adapting," he told Powell through the comm. "Fall back to secondary positions." Powell signaled her teams to retreat, but she had one more card to play. "Time for our surprise," she told Martinez. From a secured hangar, New Horizons Reserve Force emerged. The K-9 Special Forces Unit, recently arrived from Earth. 500 handler dog teams, all equipped with the very latest technology and training. The CSFU dogs wore suits with even more advanced features, including limited flight capability for short jumps and reinforced jaw systems that could breach Vecturian armor. The new dogs spread throughout the colony, overwhelming the Vecturian sensors with too many targets to track. They moved in perfect coordination with their handlers, using tactics that the Vecturians had never encountered. In his command ship, General Krazak received increasingly desperate reports. "Sir, we've lost contact with sectors 3 through 7. The animals are everywhere. Our troops are surrounded." Krazak watched his carefully planned invasion collapse. "Order all forces to return to ships," he finally commanded. "We must regroup." As the Vecturian forces retreated, human defenders pressed their advantage. Powell led a bold strike directly at the Vecturian command post. Max and his team disabled their communications array, cutting off Krazak from his retreating troops. The battle for New Horizon lasted 3 days. When it was over, the Vecturian fleet limped back toward their territory, having lost over 60% of their ground forces and 5 ships. In the colony's medical center, Powell sat beside Max as a veterinarian checked him for injuries. Her dog looked up at her with tired but proud eyes. "You did good, boy," she said softly, scratching behind his ears. "Really good." Colonel Martinez entered, his uniform dusty and torn. "The council has called an emergency session," he told Powell. "They want us to present our case personally. You and Max are specifically requested to attend." Powell looked surprised. "Us? Why?" "Because you two led the defense that defeated the mighty Vecturian Empire," Martinez said with a smile. "The council is starting to understand what we've known all along. Never underestimate a human and their dog." Across the stars, news of the Battle of New Horizons spread quickly. For the first time in centuries, a Vecturian attack force had been decisively defeated. And the key to that victory had been the very creatures they had laughed at just months before, the dogs of Earth. The Galactic Council chamber was packed with representatives from hundreds of worlds. The emergency session had been called to address what many were now calling the Earth situation. At the center of the chamber stood Ambassador Carter, Colonel Martinez, and Lieutenant Powell, with Max sitting calmly at her side. The German Shepherd wore a formal military vest with Earth insignia rather than his combat suit. Supreme Counselor Vex called the session to order. "We are here to discuss the conflict between Earth and the Vecturian Empire. Admiral Exir has filed a formal complaint against Earth for using biological weapons." Admiral Exir rose from his seat. His scales flared in anger. "The humans bring animals to battle. This violates Section 22 of the Warfare Conventions. Their dogs attacked our soldiers on Europa and New Horizon without warning or mercy." Carter stepped forward. "With respect, Admiral, your forces attacked peaceful human settlements without provocation. You fired the first shots in both battles. Surveillance footage from New Horizon played on large screens around the chamber. It showed the dogs in action, but also showed something the Council hadn't seen before: the dogs disabling rather than killing enemy combatants when possible, and helping remove injured Vecturians from dangerous areas. Our dogs are not mindless weapons," Carter explained. "They are trained to use minimum necessary force. They can distinguish between combatants and civilians. They have saved lives on both sides." A new figure approached the speaking platform. "I am Grand General Krazak of the Vecturian Empire," he said, his voice deep and rough. "I commanded the New Horizon invasion force." He looked directly at Powell and Max. "I request to examine this animal." Powell looked to Carter, who nodded. She gave Max a hand signal, and the dog walked forward, stopping a few feet from Krazak. The Vecturian general knelt down, bringing his face closer to Max's level. "This creature defeated my best warriors," Krazak said, studying Max carefully. "Yet it shows no fear of me now." "He's not afraid because I'm not afraid," Powell said, stepping forward. "Max trusts my judgment. That's the relationship you don't understand." Powell joined Max and put her hand on his head. "May I demonstrate?" "Counselor." Vex gestured permission and Powell turned to Max. Without speaking, she gave a series of small hand movements. Max responded immediately, performing a complex sequence of behaviors: sitting, lying down, moving to specific positions, all without a word being spoken. "We don't just train our dogs to follow commands," Powell explained. "We build a partnership based on trust and mutual understanding. Max can read my emotions, my intent. We communicate in ways that go beyond words." Consul Thala of the Altharians stepped forward. "I have studied the human-canine bond since our demonstration 6 months ago. What they say is true. These animals are not slaves or tools. They are companions who choose to work with humans." She displayed her research findings. Dogs have evolved alongside humans for over 30,000 years. Their brains have developed to understand human emotions and intentions. They can recognize human facial expressions and voice tones. They release oxytocin, what humans call the love hormone, when interacting with their human partners. Xir made a dismissive gesture. "Sentimental nonsense. They are using animals as weapons, plain and simple." Carter shook his head. "Admiral, your people evolved on a world where you were the apex predator. You never developed relationships with other species. On Earth, our survival depended on cooperation, not just with other humans, but with animals like dogs." He displayed images from Earth's history: ancient cave paintings showing humans hunting with dogs, medieval illustrations of dogs working alongside people, modern scenes of dogs helping in disasters, guiding the blind, and comforting the sick. "Dogs have been our partners through our entire history," Carter said. "They've worked with us, lived with us, protected us, and we've done the same for them." The council chamber was quiet as the aliens considered this strange relationship. Many had never imagined forming bonds with non-sapient species. Counselor Vex spoke first. "I propose a new classification for Earth, not just a death world, but a symbiotic evolution world, where multiple species evolved cooperative relationships as a survival strategy." The proposal created a buzz of conversation around the chamber. Many council species had never considered such evolutionary paths possible. "And what of the Vecturian complaint?" Admiral Xir demanded. Vex considered carefully. "The council recognizes that Earth's use of canines in defensive operations does not violate our conventions. These animals are not weapons, but working companions with special status. They must be treated as protected service members, not as expendable assets." This ruling sent another wave of murmurs through the chamber. It was the first time the council had granted such status to non-sapient animals. "Furthermore," Vex continued, "given Earth's successful defense against unprovoked Vecturian aggression, I propose granting them full council membership with immediate effect." The vote was taken, and by a clear majority, Earth became the newest member of the Galactic Council. The Vecturian delegation, humiliated by their defeats and the Council's ruling, had no choice but to agree to a non-aggression pact with Earth. As the formal proceedings concluded, an unexpected moment caught everyone's attention. A young Vecturian, a diplomatic attaché, approached Powell and Max cautiously. "May I touch it?" the young alien asked hesitantly. Powell nodded. "His name is Max. Hold out your hand first, let him sniff you." The Vecturian extended his scaled hand. Max sniffed it curiously, then sat calmly, allowing the alien to carefully stroke his fur. "It's soft," the Vecturian said, sounding surprised. "And warm." "He's friendly if you're friendly," Powell explained. "Dogs are good judges of character." The moment was captured by council media and broadcast across the galaxy. The first peaceful interaction between a Vecturian and an Earth dog. 1 month later on Earth, A special ceremony honored the dogs and handlers who had defended humanity's colonies. In a park in Geneva, Carter and General Foster presented medals to the teams who had fought at Europa and New Horizon. Max sat proudly as Powell attached a special commendation to his vest. Around them, representatives from 12 council species observed the ceremony, each offering their traditional military salutes as the dogs and handlers passed. They came to our world thinking we were primitive for relying on animals, Foster said in her address. They left understanding something profound about humanity. We never walk alone. Our strength isn't just in our technology or our numbers. It's in the bonds we form, the partnerships we build. As the ceremony ended, Powell knelt beside Max, scratching his favorite spot behind his ears. What do you think, boy? Ready for our next mission? They say some of the council worlds want to start their own dog programs now, Max replied in the way dogs always have, with a wag of his tail, alert eyes, and unwavering loyalty to his human companion. In the crowd, the young Vecturian attaché watched with growing interest as a trainer worked with a puppy. Perhaps, he thought, his people had something important to learn from Earth after all. The Galactic Council had laughed at humanity's army. No one was laughing now.